Welcome to Soul Messages, a found poetry workshop. In this video, I'm going to share what this workshop is all about, what you can expect to learn from it, and then we'll dive into the actual process in future videos. So, what is this process? It's a simple, playful, creative meditation practice to open and receive insights through found words. And you'll see in the slideshow, there are a few of the messages interspersed, like you see here on the left, that have come through the practice for me. So, this one says, Ancient portals inside my heart, entry points slowly emerging, bring lantern senses. And what's amazing to me about this process, and we'll talk more about this as we go along, is that none of these messages are planned out. They just appear through the practice and they resonate so deeply and feel magical and fascinating. So we'll see as you go along too what messages come through for you and what connections that you feel to them in different ways over time. So, what you'll learn in this workshop, you'll learn a simple creative practice that it's meditative and playful. You'll learn a process to feel into the energy of words and explore intuitive self expression with them. How to slow down, get quiet, and tune into the body to feel what words resonate and speak to each other, noticing surprising connections and insights reveal themselves. You'll learn to expand and deepen your relationship to language. You'll learn ways to save the messages to revisit over time for inspiration and guidance on your creative path. And you'll learn ideas for adapting the practice for classrooms and other settings if you want to share it with others. By the end of this workshop, you will have a simple, fun practice you can turn to when you have a few minutes or an hour that is inspiring, nourishing, and will connect you more deeply to your intuition and creative spirit, I hope. You'll also have a new way to explore meditation through a creative process using found words. And you'll have the encouragement to use this process with other art practices like collage, art journaling, mixed media work, writing. There's lots of possibilities. So, I want to share how this process came to be, how I created it. A couple years ago, I read a beautiful book called Poem Crazy: How to Free Your Life with Words by Susan Woolridge. And in that book, she shares this process of creating what she calls word pools. So she gathers words, cuts them out from magazines, gathers them from different places, and creates what she calls little word tickets with them and creates poems from them. So I learned how to make word pools from her and started to play with the way that she did it, and then quickly discovered that I was adapting the process to what was resonating with me. And I just kept building on that and playing with it and exploring. And that's the process that I'm sharing in this class is the it's really a longer meditation practice that I've discovered. So I tend to sit for 60 minutes, sometimes 90 minutes. And what I find is the longer that I sit and do this process and really sink into it, the deeper the messages are, the more that they resonate. But this can also be done in short amounts of time too. And sometimes messages will come through in just a few minutes that are surprising and connecting as well. So I built this process very intuitively for myself, what I was needing, what was speaking to me, and now I'm sharing it with you. So, what we will practice together in this workshop: sensing, allowing, playing, guiding, trusting. And I love this. This is another message that came through for me one day: feeling the wisdom labyrinth within the fertile soil. Isn't that amazing? And when I read these, I don't feel like I wrote them. It feels like they came from somewhere, like they came through the words in this mysterious way. So when I read them, I feel this resonance and excitement and charge from them, but it doesn't feel like, oh, my mind, my intellect wrote this with a preconceived plan. So it's very fascinating to me how this works. We'll also be practicing how to feel into the energy of words and then allow and explore that energy and those feelings to see where they take us. And here's another message that came through for me: finding nature refuge, meeting spirit self there. And you'll notice sometimes in the ones that I share, sometimes they feel more like a poem and sometimes they feel more like a message. So that's why in the title of this workshop, I combined them. So I did soul messages and found poetry because they feel like both, and sometimes more one than another, one more one than the other. So we'll see what happens for you. So, keeping with the spirit of feeling into the energy of words, what I like to do is imagine the words are vessels or containers of energy. And I feel into them, I wonder into them slowly and deeply. And the question that I ask myself and invite you to ask yourself as you explore this practice is: do you notice certain words have different energies or hold associations or memories? Keep noticing as you play with this process and just see what bubbles to the surface. We'll also be practicing connecting to the medicine of silence and stillness in this workshop. So this practice really is about sitting wherever you choose, if it's at an art table or wherever, but it's really calming the body down, sitting in stillness, and then inviting that sense of silence. So limiting distractions, turning off noises as much as possible, so we can really hear what's going on inside of us when we're connecting to the words. And I find all of that extremely healing and powerful. We'll also be connecting to the power of serendipity and play in this workshop. And the serendipity part comes through for me when these messages come through that I haven't planned at all. And then I find that they speak often right to something in my life that it just feels like exactly what I needed to hear, and I didn't even know it. And then I also find that when I save them, which we'll talk about in a future video, how you can do that. So when I flip back through my journal where I save some of them, often they'll continue to whisper to me at different moments in my life and give me encouragement or insight or medicine. So that power of serendipity is really incredible. And then the power of play, returning to that spirit of that lightness, that play and freedom to explore and try new things that we haven't done before. And also notice what comes up in that. I find it can be really empowering, but it also can be uncomfortable sometimes, not knowing where we're going, not having a plan. And that's where this practice can really become very healing and insightful as well. We'll also practice connecting to and trusting our intuition to guide us. So, this message came through, which really speaks to that. Wake down, listening inside our body memory is our power. When that came through, I was like, oh, yes, it is. We have so much power inside of our bodies. And connecting to our intuition is one way that we can start to access that. Maybe you already work with your intuition, maybe that's something that's new for you. But this practice is going to invite us to keep listening to that. And the way that it works in this particular practice is by feeling into the words. What is feeling what's pulling at me? One word, like, I don't have to know why. Okay, this is pulling to me. Okay, what other word seems to want to connect to this word? Okay, don't need to know why yet, but let me trust those little whispers, those little nudges, and keep building them like they're stepping stones. And if I can stay in that process, let's then discover what wants to reveal itself. And to me, every time I do that and cultivate that sense of trust in my intuition, I'm amazed at where it takes me and what it reveals to me. And that whole process of trusting our intuition is really cultivating self trust through listening. So, connecting to and listening to our bodies, where our intuition lies, to our senses, to our heart, to our inner resonance, and letting that guide us step by step and allowing that to be the plan. That's what this is all about. And I love this quote: everything's got to do with listening. Yes, everything's got to do with listening. That's so rich. I love that. by W.S. Merwin, who's a poet, who was a poet. Okay, so now it's time to play with the words. So you can watch the future videos in the class to learn the specific process, and let's dive in.